It's about time you listen to the Shenmue AM2 podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shenmue AM2 podcast. We're your host, Andrew.
And Matt.
And we are here to talk about episode 6 of the Shenmue anime, or Shenmue The Animation. And the name of the episode is escaping me.
I just saw it.
I made a bunch of notes and did not... All my other notes, I have it at the top of the page.
It's Dignified.
Dignified, yes. So, a little bit of housekeeping before we actually get into this episode. We are changing, and hopefully this has no impact on any of you, but we're changing who hosts our podcast. We're currently using Libsyn, which there's a cost to do so, and we're switching it over to Anchor, which is like the most popular podcast thing now, where like it's hosted by Spotify, and it's free, and like 80% of new podcasts start on it. So hopefully the transition is smooth and you guys do not miss an episode or anything like that. If we always tweet out and everything, so follow us on social media at Shenmue AM2 Pod when we release new episodes. If you do not get this in your RSS feed, like your podcast, let us know at Shenmue AM2 Pod, just so we can try to rectify things on our end. If for whatever reason you can't get it and we can't rectify it right away, it's always available on YouTube. If
you can't hear us right now, let us know.
This is for the next episode. This one will still be on Libsyn.
Okay. You didn't make that clear.
Matt's a jerk. A 40-year-old jerk.
Oh.
Oh, look, it's 7:40.
No.
We're recording this on Pi Day, too. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
3.14.
Nice.
Right, so... we mentioned last episode, before we hopped into this one, that we were going to just kind of go over some of the thoughts that people have so far on it. So we have some comments from our YouTube channel.
This is on the show overall?
Yes, so Pizza Rolls, awesome name, pizza is the best food. After watching episode 5 of the anime, I've become a bit torn on the anime.
Oh.
I realized that the anime, that's the third time I said anime, it's its own things and has to do things differently, but by God are they going at a cocaine-fueled breakneck pace. This episode highlighted my biggest complaint with episode 1, which might be my favorite in retrospect. I didn't like in episode 1 that he faced Chai and beat him. I know the game you face him before the harbor, and if you are good, win, but I bet most people didn't/don't when they play. So when Rio faced him in the harbor, I'm like, well, he's going to win. He beat him in episode 1. No reason he should lose here. And yes, he also wins in the game, so there is that too. This kind of leads to my problem with the anime and this episode in general. Rio just seems overpowered. It seems like he barely has to put in an effort to fight. And I know the game was way too... And I know the game was this way too, but maybe they could have had him lose or at least get roughed up a little to simulate failing a non-essential QTE. I don't know. This kind of leads me to my biggest disappointed of episode 5, and I don't know if this is a cheap budget thing, but it was so psyched for the 70-man battle episode. It's such a fun part in the game, and I think a very cool scene to translate to screen, but there just feels like the stomp their feet on the ground and knock down 20 people at a time is not very exciting or rewarding. Though now that I say this, Shenmue 2 kind of did this too, with people do power taps and taking people out or knocking leaves out of a tree. I hope the Hong Kong stuff is good, but I'm nervous currently playing Shenmue 2 again, as I haven't beat it start to finish in nearly 18 years.
Whoa.
Fan of the show, Jake Wakala.
Oh, yes.
Let me know if I'm pronouncing that right, Jake. So great to have new episodes of you guys every week. I'm really enjoying the animated series. I do wish they would have stretched it out a bit more so that the first season was just Shenmue 1. I feel like they skipped over a bit too much. One thing I have really enjoyed is the added humor that the game sometimes lacked. It makes the characters more human.
That's true.
Do you guys think they will have anything from Shenmue 3 in this, or will it end in the cave? Also, hope you had a good birthday, Matt.
Thanks. I'm still torn on whether I think that we're going to get to Shenmue 3, because it starts in the cave. Yeah, I don't know.
I think they'll probably... We might get the very, 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 very start of Shenmue 3.
Like they just walk out of the cave.
Makes my day listening to you guys. Come on, Shenmue 4. Good podcast. The clear-colored piss comment cracked me up. We need darts in Shenmue 2 storyline. Fingers crossed.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Another fun podcast, just a note. We'll see what the anime does, of course, but I don't recall Shenhua being jealous of Nozomi in the games. She was just curious and picked up on Ryo's attempts to downplay his feelings for her. She even playfully teased him about her in one of the dialogue options for traveling in Shenmue 3.
That's true. Do we ever suspect that she has any romantic love for Ryo?
Shenhua?
Yeah.
I don't think she does.
Yeah, I don't think so either. She's too young, isn't she? Isn't she like 16 or 15 or something?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. But, yeah, that first comment about how fast it's all going. I mean, yeah, I agree it is. And the 70-man battle was probably my least favorite fight scene. All the other fight scenes had a lot of care and attention put into them, I found. But yeah, the 70-man battle was a little bit of a letdown.
And it might be because they blew the budget on the fight with Guizhong, too.
Maybe.
Because I found that one to be pretty good. They really put a lot of care and effort into making sure like his stance compared to Ryo's was accurate and things like that. But we'll see how it goes going forward.
So if he didn't like the previous episode, he's really not going to like this one. This one zooms by a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's cocaine fueled, all right. One thing that I was thinking of before, and Jake's comment really got me thinking about it. Any TV show that you watch in modern day, when the pilot season is out, the pilot season is generally not a full order season. It's usually 6 or 8 episodes, as compared to your regular 13 or 23 or 26 or whatever it is. And they could have done that with this. Excuse me. They could have just made Shenmue 1. Do it as a pilot series, or pilot season for this series, and if it's successful, it's successful. If it's not, it's not. But they didn't do that. And I'm really glad they didn't do that, because if they did stretch... I don't know if using the word stretch is a good term, because they could have made the Shenmue 1 portion of this longer.
I really don't think it would translate well to animation to just watch him do all the Shenmue 1, like Shenmue, life simulation stuff. Like no one's going to enjoy that except hardcore fans.
But that's probably who's watching.
Maybe. Do we have any stats on how the show's doing?
It was trending on Twitter and the Toonami app or something to do with Toonami. It was trending on or Adult Swim or something like that.
But if nothing happens in the show, people wouldn't keep watching. I don't think. It's a passive experience, a show. It's not an active one. You're not engaging with it and deciding what happens next. Like a video game, you have to sit there and let the story take you where it's going to take you. And if you don't feel like experiencing what's happening in the story at that moment, you have no control over it. You just got to keep watching.
And I think that's why they opted to go with both seasons, or both games, Shenmue 1 and 2, is because they did realize that if this is going to make it, we need that action. It needs to constantly progress. And there are parts of, especially with Shenmue 1, there's parts where there's literally no progression. You are literally killing time in the game.
Wait out the clock.
And you can't kill time in a TV show. That's it. The medium just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked this episode.
I really like this episode. It might be my favorite yet. I'm actually more high on it than I am the Japanese or the Land of Japan episodes, I guess.
When I originally watched this, it didn't hold my attention as much as it did watching it with you now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of... It's in probably my top 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's just fun to discover, or to watch him discover new things and meet new people. Everything is new to him.
Yeah, so...
And what they were saying, what that commenter said before about Ryo feeling too powerful in the first part of the season in Japan, Like, yeah, he only really had trouble against Chai for a moment, I guess. But in Shenmue 2, the game at least, like, he meets way more people who outclass him. So I think you're going to get a lot of that here.
So, start off, he's on the boat. It doesn't quite have the same intro as Shenmue 2, the game, but you do see the boat there. And I know this doesn't make sense, but the boat in this episode looked more like the boat from the games than it did in the previous episodes.
Really?
Like, the smokestacks coming at it and everything looked more accurate, but it's the same boat, so I don't know how that could be, but I just got that impression. We do get the iconic shot of his feet coming off the stairs.
Yeah, that is fun to see which shots they can, like, cinematic camera shots in the game, which they consider to be iconic, and they translate over.
We do not. Then there's the shot of him just kind of like standing there with the backpack or whatever. We do not get him initially coming off the boat and talking to the person playing the Chinese violin. He
didn't talk to the lady whose child he saved. Like, so I thought you said there was chapter 2 had been seen in like promo material or something.
I'm fairly certain it has been, and I know I'm not in my mind. I'm not making that up. I don't think, but there's still an opportunity for that.
Some sort of flashback.
Because you run into her in the game in Shenmue 2. You can run into her later.
Okay.
You can actually... She's one of the people you can say goodbye to in Shenmue 2.
Oh.
She's working at like a... I'm pretty sure it's on like the Three Blades Street or whatever. But yeah, you don't have her. You don't have the person reading your fortune. The port looks...
Taking your photo.
Yeah, there's no, handsome boy.
Yeah, that guy.
There's none of that. There's no arm wrestling. There's no...
Oh, yeah, arm wrestling. That still might happen, because that's a way to make money, and he's presumably got no money. But
there's no... No, he does have money, because he said he had it all with him in his pockets when he was at the police station.
He does. Yes, he has money, but he has no new income, I mean.
Yeah. The port looks entirely different, or the harbor, whatever you want to call it. I don't like the look of it. It makes it seem way too grand.
Yeah, it looks more like the Japanese harbor. Yeah, I preferred the game's version of like a quaint little shoddily put together pier and stuff.
Yeah, the Shenmue 2 does a great job at the very start of making Ryo feel overwhelmed. When he gets off the boat and people are in his face and people are begging him for money, or not begging, but asking him for money, and it's very grimy, his first initial experience with it. It reminds me of the first time my wife and I went to New York. And when we came out of that subway station or train station in Penn Station, and literally being overwhelmed, and I had one of those fake monks put a bracelet on my hand the minute I came out.
Yeah.
And it was just overwhelming. You don't really get that in the anime.
I think over the course of the episode, it shows how different Hong Kong is for him, and how the rules are very different, and life is just completely foreign to him, like the way these people live. But yeah, I agree. He doesn't get that in the first few moments. Yeah,
it kind of gradually ramps up during the episode, as opposed to it being like a punch in the face immediately.
Yeah.
Joy almost runs him over. So that does happen fairly early on in the game. Like, once you get past the arm wrestling spot, she comes out of like where you go find work.
She almost runs him over twice in this episode, and that happens in the game too. So I mean, she can't have all those close calls all the time. I'm sure she's run somebody over.
Oh yeah, Joy has definitely been charged with vehicular manslaughter. So something entirely different that does not happen in the game is Joy even warns him, you're gonna get pickpocketed maybe, or watch out for it. And you have the scene with Wong, Sam, Larry, and the leader of the Chiyu men, Cool Z.
Yeah.
And they pickpocket him, steal the bag. In the game, he tries to find it himself. And he eventually runs into Wong. He goes to the police in this.
Yeah, that was fun.
I thought that was just... When I originally watched it, I'm like, what is happening? Because it just starts out like on the Hong Kong flag.
Yeah, brand new environment, like completely unfamiliar to the Shenmue fans, yeah. But that was a fun scene, I like that. And it's something that he might do. But I've like, almost everybody he meets is like, their first response to the first thing he says is, oh, you're a tourist, or you're not from here. So it's very clear he's supposed to be speaking Cantonese or Mandarin, probably Cantonese.
Yeah, Cantonese.
And they're all and he's not that great at it and stuff, but they make no attempt at having that come across audibly for us. I wonder what the English version does. I assume they just all speak English.
I would imagine so, and maybe have Cantonese, because when we have the conversation, when we see the conversation between Lon D and that guy he was muscling, that had Cantonese subtitles.
Right.
This one doesn't. It's just English.
I guess it's just too much. Like, he's not going to be speaking Japanese for like the rest of his adventure, so
yeah.
So it's too much to ask everybody to speak Chinese from now on, I guess. But
so
I love when that amount of effort is put in when like shows actually do that, when people speak the language they're supposed to be speaking. Like, I just started watching Chernobyl on HBO, and they do the stereotypical thing where like, oh, all these Ukrainian people are suddenly British, you know?
Yeah. It's whatchamacallit is the main guy in that, isn't it? From Mad Men? The guy that,
I think he's...
spoilers, hangs himself in Mad Men.
I'm not sure. I'll watch that show. I have not watched Mad Men.
Mad Men was... Its first 4 seasons are amazing, and the episode with the John Deere tractor in the office...
She showed me that
might
scene.
be one of my favorite scenes of all time in any television show. It is fantastic. And just... I can't remember which character it is, but the one that has his arm in front of him, and when he moves it, you can see the outline of where his arm was. Fantastic little detail in that show. Anyone that's watched Mad Men knows what I'm talking about. So the police, hint at him finding a place to stay. There's a little montage of him going to a couple hotels. No room at the inn.
Yeah.
He does not get a hotel.
Your kind are not welcome here, Japanese boy.
He ends up in the South Carmaine Quarter, although I don't know if they actually say it's the South Carmaine Quarter, but he's at Lotus Park, and he has a little inner monologue watching the old man. He's like, is that Tai Chi? And then the old man...
was perfectly symmetrical warts on his face. He has three warts on both cheeks, and they're like identically placed. Like,
are they warts or like liver spots or freckles?
They protrude from his face.
Oh,
so when he goes into profile, you can see them popping out of his face. But if you drew a line down the middle of his face, both cheeks are identical.
They have a conversation about martial arts. And then he's just like, try to hit me. And Rio puts his little translator thing in the leather belly shutout.
And then he goes all out immediately.
He very quietly stuffs it in his pocket and then just tries to like haymaker this dude.
In the game, he pulls his punch at first, doesn't he?
Something like that. And yeah, the guy in the game, I'm pretty sure he like calls Rio out for not really trying.
Yeah, I think so.
But in this, yeah, Rio just full tilt.
All right.
All right, old man, I'm going to knock your teeth out.
All right. Nice knowing you.
He does not hit him like the game. And Matt and I were laughing about it in the episode. He's like the old man. What's his name in the game? I can't remember.
Is it Jin Man or something?
Jin Man, yes. He's like, martial arts aren't meant to harm people. And then Rio's like,
I get it.
He's like, I get it.
That's the first thing they teach you in any martial art. You're going to learn how to fight so you don't have to.
But like, Rio has been training with his father for years. He meets a stranger in the park, and now he just has this epiphany. He's like, everything is clear.
Well, anytime we see Iwao training him, there's never any dialogue. So, for all we know, he's teaching little Rio, this is how you kill a man, Rio. This, always strike true. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, Rio.
It's Cobra Kai, Matt. Yeah. What's the name of the tournament in the first Karate Kid?
The All Valley Under 18?
Yeah, that's what Rio was competing in at the start of this episode, or start of the series. He asks for directions for the Yanten apartments when he is sparring with Jinmen, They show the outside of the Antin apartments. They look a little different. When he shows him in the lobby, it looks identical. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And then, is her name Gui Zhang?
Yeah. It's confusing. Guizhang.
Yeah, they show her. Her character model is really good, too.
Yeah, she looks really good.
They have the conversation. She thinks she doesn't call him a land shark, but she just assumes he's bad. And they have the conversation. She snickers when he keeps referring to Li Xiaotao as a him or as a male. And then she just kind of gets fed up, and she's like, go to Manmo Temple.
We don't run into the doppelganger. I mean, we never met his brother in the first part, so...
oh, yeah, Wang's brother?
Yeah.
It would have been funny if you just see Wang's brother and you have to buy him a drink.
Oh, yeah. Or if they just throw him in, like, walking in the background.
So Rio heads off to Manmo Temple. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of him adventuring on how to get there. It literally just shows, like, the outside of the building.
Like the montage of him, holding up paper and pointing at maps and asking people, you mean?
Yeah, just something showing, so you just kind of get that feeling of he's in an unknown area. He's trying to communicate with these locals to find his way. When he gets to Manmo Temple, you see Zhuing. She's just there praying. He asks her about something. She's just like, oh, I was praying, and leaves. Or you think she leaves. She's just waiting for him outside to jump him. And Matt and I cannot remember his name, but the guy who runs the temple, I don't think he looks anything like the guy in the game.
He looks enough like him that I knew who it was.
But is that based on how he's dressed more? Like,
well, didn't he have the mustache and stuff?
He did have the mustache, but his
hair.
face didn't look grizzled. And the other guy is not there at all. That, like, makes you carry the books or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know if we'll see him again, but
he's unnecessary.
Think they make him carry the books? That could be a great comedic scene.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It made it seem like skipping ahead a bit. It made it seem like they were going to do the whole training montage because he's like, I'm gonna come here every day until I meet Master Li Xiaotao. So I'm like, oh, so he's gonna scrub the walls, carry the books, and then nope, there she is.
Yeah, I forget about the scrubbing the walls.
My cat's being a jerk. He's literally clawing at the walls. He's trying to scratch the soot off my walls and find the voodoo or whatever.
We need a montage of Matt teaching his cats the 4 voodoo. When Rio leaves the temple, him and Zhuing have a conversation. And this is the first time that I really got the feeling that people know he's out for revenge.
Yeah.
Because she has a conversation with him about, like, that she could have... because they spar or something, and she's like, or that might be in the preview for the next episode.
Yeah, they don't fight in this.
They don't fight, but she does have a thing about, like, him being, I don't think she uses the word blinded, but, like, clouded by what his purpose is. And again, they still have not used the word revenge in this whatsoever. And that is a clear choice.
Yeah.
It can't be a coincidence 6 episodes in.
Yeah, it's still just about finding the truth.
He goes back we see him back at the park again, and he learns the move, hitting the tree. And this is the first instance of him really practicing a move.
Yeah, you were hoping to see more of that, so this must have made you happy.
It did. What I really want out of this anime, and leave messages in the comments section if you're listening to this on YouTube. I want to see little tidbits of the game like that. I know you have the anime and you have the game, and I want there to be a little Venn diagram of like those little bits of information they drop in the middle. One thing too, we skimmed over here, when his bag gets stolen, another iconic scene is when he's chasing Wong and they hit the waitress, and Rio stops and he's like, oh, sorry, and like make sure the platter's level.
Yeah.
They made sure to get that in there, and I really enjoyed that. And then Wong running around the corner and dumping the bamboo pipes. Another thing. He runs into Joy Joy runs into Wong, and they're having a conversation, and Wong's like, oh, I ripped off this Japanese tourist, and it clicks in her brain that it's Ryo she's talking about. I'm not a fan of the character model for Wong. He looks too mature.
Yeah.
He doesn't have this innocent child look.
His voice is also deeper than I would have expected, but I'm okay with it. What do you think of Joy's character model?
They kind of just wanted, like, the generic top on her, like...
Didn't want to animate all those spots.
Yeah, then that's definitely the reason why they did it, but she looks a little more generic, but in my mind, because I'm not a huge fan of how Joy's face looks in the game, it looks like too charactery.
It's very angular.
Yeah.
Not as human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her chin, like...
She could stab somebody with her chin.
Yes. Her face in the anime I like better, just the way it's drawn.
I really like how they translated her hairstyle.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of classical anime characters' hairstyles. Like, I think I've seen that style on several characters in the 80s. 80s anime.
What is next here? It shows Joy and so Rio's walking down that, like, alley with all the little market stands in it, and he runs into the dun-dun-dun Poison Brothers. Mm-hmm. And they're giving him a hard time. Joy shows up on her motorcycle again, about to commit vehicular manslaughter for the second, third, and fourth time in this episode.
Yeah, that would have been funny if she took all three of them out.
They seem terrified of her. Joy definitely has clout in this town.
Yeah, we never really, like, even in the game, we never really understand how she got this clout. how she got everybody to respect her.
I'm going to make a prediction. In the anime, we find out.
Yeah.
In the anime...
She gets extra backstory?
Not necessarily backstory, but remember in the game, when you're going through the tapes, and there's that tape of Guizhong talking to Joy?
Yeah.
That will be explored more in this anime, I guarantee it. Mark my words, that is going to happen. So Joy takes him to the come-over guest house. Or is that...
That's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I was confusing it with the Free Stay Lodge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Free Stay Lodge is not part of this either.
I don't think I've ever actually stayed in any of my playthroughs.
I don't think you can.
I thought if you don't make it to the come over guest house, you're forced to the Free Stay Lodge. I thought that was the case.
Yeah, I may boot up the second game just to waste a day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
One thing they talk about, too, is the mirror's not in his bag when it gets stolen. It's definitely in the bag in the game, right?
That's why you want your bag back so bad.
Yeah.
In this, I don't understand why he wants his bag back so bad, because I don't even know what's in it. He has his money, he has the mirror, he has all his documents. Is it literally just clothes? Is that all that's left?
The amulet from Nozomi, maybe?
Maybe.
But...
I mean, you never change your clothes anyways, Rio. You don't need that bag.
He practices the move again in the morning after spending the night. And this is when he actually masters that move. All the leaves hit the ground. Something I thought was funny was Jinmen laughing at him. Mm-hmm. Throughout this process of oh yeah, you'll get it.
And he's like, you got any tips for me on how to do this? He's like, nope, just keep doing it.
Yeah, it's not like instant noodles.
Yeah.
I love that reference. You can get instant noodles with martial arts. They're not instant noodles.
He still should have instructed him somehow. You can't learn something just by brute forcing your way through it.
Sure you can.
Yeah, but it takes a long time. Not just a day.
So after he learns that move, it cuts to him and Joy in an alley somewheres. And he's like, where's Wong? I want my bag back. She's hesitant to tell him because she thinks...
Because Rio looks like a murderer.
Yeah. Even though she's the one that's tried to commit vehicular manslaughter multiple times. She's worried that he's going to hurt Wong, Sam, Larry, and again, the leader of the Chiyu Men, Cool Z. Rio promises not to. Mm-hmm. Is he going to keep his word? We'll see.
Yeah.
Flash forward to Wong sitting at the fountain. That part they recreated pretty well, I think. You only see it for a couple seconds on screen.
Yeah, there's no establishing shot of the whole area either.
That would have been nice to have, just something like a a boom camera style shot.
Get some atmosphere, yeah.
Ryo, Wong sitting at the fountain. Ryo sees him, bolts after him. Wong runs towards, down an alleyway towards Larry, Sam, and the leader of the Chiyu Men, Cool Z. And
who in the game you absolutely beat their asses.
Yeah, in this you do not.
Yeah.
He does a move, and I don't remember if it's Sam or Larry, but pins him up against the wall without hitting him in the face. Mm-hmm. Then he takes on the other Sam or Larry and the leader of the Chiyu Men, Cool Z.
Pushes them into each other.
I love how the leader of the Chiyu Men, Cool Z. I'm saying it like that every single time.
Okay.
He fights with the boombox still over his shoulder. He doesn't set it down. He doesn't drop it. Nothing. And he has a conversation with them. I just want my bag back. And then we cut to out on Wong's boat.
Which, again, we didn't really get a nice establishing shot there either, did we?
There's a very quick one.
But is it far out? Is it
No, you literally see a couple boats.
Yeah, I want more world building shots just to establish place and time.
And that's changed too because he hid the book bag in that buildings. Little tight space with the buildings. One thing I'm glad that wasn't in the anime was following Wong to that stupid bag. That is one of the worst parts of Shenmue 2. Mm-hmm. Just that follow scene where you're just da, 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 da. I can zoom in, I can run slow. Why is that part of that game?
Do you think we're going to meet the disgraced student who chops rocks into in the mall?
I fucking hope we do. I'd love to see the inside of that mall in this. How they see what stores they put in it. Mm-hmm. So he learns Gone, so he knows one of the four wood now. He goes back to the temple. They cut to the credits too in this. And the credits are just playing over top of it. Mm-hmm. Which I like because I think this episode is a little bit like the actual episode before the credits is the full running time normally. He goes in, he's talking to the fellow at the temple. He thinks he's being rude about meeting Li Xiaotao. Zhuing shows up. The fellow at the temple refers to her as Master Li Xiaotao. Ryo is like, what?
So I never really asked that before. Is that a woman's name and Ryo just doesn't understand, or he's not familiar with Chinese names so he doesn't know? Or does she have a secret identity that has the name of a man?
I don't know. If anyone that listens to this that might be able to shed some light on that, please do. But yeah, and that's the thing, he wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because of the language difference. And as this happens, it cuts to Wong, Larry, Sam, the leader of the Chiyu Men, Cool Z, and some shadowy figure that we don't see right away.
But who you know who it's going to be, if you're a fan of the game.
It's the drunk guy.
Yeah.
No, it's Ren. And that's how this episode ends, is with that little introduction shot of Ren. I loved it. This episode was really good. You know what? I'm going to say it is my favorite so far.
I really liked it. Even though there's not much action in it. But a lot happens. Like I said, it's a TV show. You want stuff to happen. I'm just really sad that Corey Marshall's not voicing him in English, even though we wouldn't be able to experience that because we're forced to watch it in Japanese. But I feel bad. He would have done a fine job. Oh, did you see Corey Marshall's shaving his mustache on Facebook?
No.
Or his facial hair?
No.
He has to do it for a
role that he's in.
For a role, yeah. If any of you are friends with Corey Marshall on Facebook, he's had this facial hair for a long time, like this big bushy gray facial hair, and he shaved it and put out the video, and he looks 10 years younger. It's nuts. I'll show you after.
Do you know what else? You mentioned that he's not doing the voice. Remember how Eric Kelso and Paul did the voice of Lon D? Someone just had them record the lines and put it over the game.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping that from happening with this either. It would be a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Like for Shenmue 3, it wasn't a whole lot of lines. Ren isn't a major character in that game, and Lon D's only in it for a short period of time, but if someone made that'd be sweet. It is. I've watched a couple of the episode previews that are in English. Have you yet?
No.
And it is different hearing a different voice. I understand why they did it, but
I don't. Corey Marshall did a great job. If you had a problem with English Rio, it was all down to direction.
Tell us how you really feel. But yeah, it's going to be different. I would like to, if I get the chance to rewatch this, I would love to watch an English version of it somehow. Also, I've gotten 2 emails from Crunchyroll. They have not charged my credit card yet. And they're like, we had a problem charging your credit card. I'm like, I just went back and put it in again, but I still don't think it's been charged.
Huh. Free Crunchyroll forever.
The first 2 weeks were free. It was a 14-day free trial, and then at the end, and now we're on episode 6, so that's 6 weeks in, and they still haven't charged. So we'll see how that happens, or what goes on, but they haven't cut off the service, which is great. But yeah, so as we said at the start of this episode, reach out to us on social media, Shenmue AM2 Pod on Twitter, Shenmue AM2 Podcast at gmail.com. You can leave a message on our Facebook page or Facebook group or our forum on the dojo. If you have any trouble listening to this podcast in the future, please let us know so we can rectify it as quick as possible. Everything's been submitted to where it needs to be submitted, so hopefully everything is a smooth transition. The only problem is I can't tell yet because we're still on Libsyn till the end of the month, so I gotta figure out how to cancel that and make sure everything does transition over smoothly, because I don't want to lose all these back episodes and then have to re-upload them manually. This way it just literally transitions from one place to the other without having to do any manual labor to it, because we're like 80 episodes in now, and that would be a lot of work.
That would be annoying.
We surpassed 40,000 podcast downloads.
Nice.
Which is nice. I haven't looked at our YouTube stats in months, but YouTube is definitely
is that where most people see it or
no
hear it?
Actually most people, we do have more. It's changed since we took that year off. Our YouTube views have definitely gone down, but the podcast, those went down a bit as well, but we are getting more listeners, and our YouTube subscriptions have gone up. We're at over 550 now, and I think when we came back on the air, we were at like 520 something. So there's definitely been some growth there, and part of that is because there's a Shenmue anime now too, so yeah, just once people are searching things, we're probably showing up on YouTube. Anything else you want to add to this episode? Sorry to cut you off there. The new Turtles game. Can we just talk about how awesome that looks?
The new game or the new collection?
Both. Shredder's Revenge does look awesome, but Matt just said, I wish you could have been there to see my reaction when you sent it to me. My wife and I were in the kitchen, like, we just get some groceries or something, and I was like, message from Matt Humphrey, and I look at it, and I'm like, all I saw was something called the Cowabunga Collection. I was like, oh, fuck. And my wife's like, what? And I'm like, oh, man, just give me a second. I, like, clicked on it, and I'm watching it. And then I see the big seller for me was the Turtles arcade game, and then Turtles in Time, when I could see them both with 4 players. And I'm like, those are the arcade versions. But
a lot of people like the console versions better because of the adjusted difficulty for, like, the limited lives. Did you play the Xbox Live Arcade re-release of the arcade version?
No, and I heard it was terrible, the sound and everything on it.
Well, besides that, it's just not that fun to play an arcade game with infinite lives. It just gets repetitive. Like, the challenge isn't there because you can keep pumping in virtual quarters. So a lot of people actually prefer the console versions of those games. But it's cool that they're all there.
And that's the thing is, it is all there. You have TMNT, the arcade game, TMNT, Turtles in Time. Then for the NES, you have the arcade game, you have the original Turtles game, Terminator 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, the Manhattan Project, the
Tournament Fighters,
the NES version of Tournament Fighters, which is skyrocketing in price. Hopefully this helps it come down. Then for the Super Nintendo, you have Turtles in Time, you have Tournament Fighters, that version, which is going to be online. Then you have, for the Genesis, you have Hyperstone Heist, which is going to be online.
More Tournament Fighters.
The Sega Genesis version of Tournament Fighters. All 3 of those are entirely different different games. And then you have, for the Game Boy, you have Fall of the Foot Clan, the third one called Radical Rescue, and the second one's called Back from the Sewers.
Something like that.
And then all of these ones, other than the arcade games, you're also getting the Japanese versions of all of these games as well. So I don't know if there's like difference in difficulty.
I know there's like censorship changes in like Tournament Fighters. Like I think they changed one of the female fighters' costumes to give her more clothes in the American versions and stuff.
But yeah, that is something I've been so excited for. And Sega continuing their run of bringing back these older franchises. The only version of House of the Dead that you couldn't get on a newer version of a home console is being remade for the Switch. And they just announced a physical version of that as well.
Nice.
So that is something I'm super hyped for, because my wife and I absolutely love playing the House of the Dead games. On-rail shooters are great introductions for people that aren't necessarily great at video games, because it's just pointing and shooting. There's no movement involved.
Yeah. Did you play
What system?
PSVR, the haunted roller coaster game?
Yep.
Yeah, you have that?
Yep. Yeah. That one of my friends almost fell over in it. When the roller coaster went up to the top, she's like, "Whoa!" falling backwards. Yeah, so that's those two Turtles games. I cannot wait.
Still no release dates.
2022 for both.
Okay.
To my knowledge, but we're Shenmue fans. We're used to delays.
Yeah, that's true.
And do you know what I did on this weekend, Matt?
Nope.
I played Streets of Rage 4 on Mania Plus difficulty in the arcade mode, and I destroyed it. I beat it with 3 lives left.
Power slide, power slide, power slide, power slide, power slide. Yes?
That was Shiva.
Oh, okay.
But I did his forward. And then the trick is with this, it's you gotta make sure you don't die, especially early on in level like the old pier levels where there's holes that you can fall down. That's where you're losing the health. You gotta make sure you can get to the turkeys to replenish that health, and you don't get to do it's probably possible if you're real good at the game, but when you use Shiva you can't pick up any weapons, so you can't go in and get the bonuses out of the arcade machines to do the retro levels, because unless you can get that taser to land on the ground on the same plane as the thing, and you can kick at it, that's really the only way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that on the weekend. That's like my most recent video game accomplishments that I've been really proud of.
So yeah, you play these games completely different than me. Like you're like, I must win the optimal way, almost like a speed run. Like you're almost like a speedrunner. Do you disagree with that?
No, you try to use style.
Yeah, I just like I like to vary my moves and try to look cool. And you're just like, I don't care if it looks cool. If it works, do it.
And by when Matt says he's varying moves, he means
throw stuff at you,
and then throw stuff at the other human players. That's the variation. He'll hit me, then he'll hit my cousin Brian.
But I was going to ask, have you ever watched the YouTube channel Summoning Salt? You might like it. It's about speedruns and the history of speedruns, and like just people finding these little, like, shaving fractions of a second off of things by doing tricks and playing things optimally, and they put together these little mini documentaries about like the speedrun history of each and every game. It's pretty entertaining.
We share our mutual friend Adrian. He was over at my house picking up the Shinobi record that I got in the mail that I did not order from Limited Run or from Data Discs. That's all been rectified. But he came over to pick that up, and we got talking about speedruns. And I remember my cousin Brian and I, as kids, we beat Jaws on the NES in 7. It was like 7, just over 7 minutes. And I was like, do you think that'd be close to the world record? And Adrian, he's like, oh yeah, there's like, I can't remember the name of the website, but he went and he's like, the speed run for that is like 3 minutes and 43 seconds or something. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, that's something Brian and I, if we worked at, we might be able to do. Now, there is some RNG in that, because you may hit the shark when he's essentially you're kind of just going from port to port in that game, back and forth. But yeah, I may talk to Brian about trying to speedrun it, and then my cousin Brian could probably speedrun Contra, because I watched him play Contra and Super C back to back and have one death between the two games. He's crazy good at it. What else? Any other video game news you're excited about?
Evil Dead the game. I'm very excited for that.
I did a little post on Facebook, like the top 5 games I'm hyped for right now is those two Turtles games, the House of the Dead remake, Breath of the Wild 2, and Mario Soccer, or Super Mario Strikers Battle League. I don't know if you've ever played any of those Mario Strikers games.
I know they're well regarded.
It's a cross between hockey and soccer, because it has the fluidity. Well, soccer and hockey are both fluid games, meaning that the play goes until it stops, as opposed to like baseball or football, where it's a play resulting in something, and then another play, then another play. But the body checks in it. So it's 3-on-3, so 4-on-4.
No yellow cards in strikers.
No, but they're so much fun to play, and this new one looks great. And the fact that you can play like 8 human players on a Switch, I think our college group of friends we're really gonna get into it. My buddy Christian started watching Shenmue The Anime. I saw he was on his Switch, like we're friends, so I get to see the notification. It was like he's on Crunchyroll, and he's a big anime fan. He's a huge Sailor Moon fan, so I thought he might have been watching something like that. Then he but I was hoping it was Shenmue deep in my heart. And then he said something about, he's like, oh yeah, I started watching Shenmue The Anime. I'm like, oh, you did you? What are your thoughts? And he's been liking it so far. I think he was on like episode 3 or 4.
Can use him as a test case for people who haven't played the game and see what they think of it. See if it's moving too fast.
He has played the game.
Oh.
He played the first one on the Dreamcast and then the second one on the original Xbox.
Dang, we need to find somebody
That's
who
where your copy of the Shenmue 2 Stream of Players guy came from. It was his.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's it for this episode. We've been rambling again.
That's all right. You guys love to hear us ramble, right?
Yeah. What else do you want to talk about? Matt's selling a Transformer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, is eBay a good place to sell a Transformer? I just don't know if I want to get into eBay selling. Like, I have this used Transformer that I want to get rid of, and even the pre-owned ones that I see on there, they're like, yeah, $200 or something, and I'm like, there's no way I can get anyone in my city to give me $200 for this. I'll be lucky if I get 40 at a pawn shop.
Have you talked to Matt Cobbett?
I did offer to him. He does not want.
I love how we just have these like mutual friends like that we know. Like, I know this guy Matt from an old job I worked at, but I know he's a huge Transformers fan.
Yeah, I'm gonna chat with him and Greg Grondin, and we talk about Transformers, and neither of them wanted it. they have it or whatever. But yeah, I just don't know if it's worth it to get into eBay selling. You did it before?
I've done it a while ago. Actually, when I had that job, when I worked with Matt Cobbett, every once in a while they'd put old like rental copies of PlayStation 2 games or whatever on clearance, and I'd buy them, a bunch of them, and wow, I just got right dizzy. Holy shit. I'm having a seizure here, guys.
You need water?
No, I'm good. Man, blurry as fuck. What were we talking about?
eBay.
Oh, eBay, yeah, selling the PS2 games. I would buy them, they were like 2 for $20, and I'd buy them and sell them for like $30-$40 on eBay. So I supplemented my college income.
I just heard
that.
I just heard they side with the seller, or sorry, the buyer in all things, and if you have any issues, you could get screwed over, or people could pretend to have issues and screw you if you're a seller. But
yeah, that's as long as you do the listing and take as many photos as possible. Have you thought of doing it like on a Facebook Marketplace group or something for Transformers?
I've done that in the past too, but even then, I just don't think I could get that much money for it from anywhere local. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you could mail it to someone. I'm in a bunch of Facebook video game groups that people do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Matt's cats did not interrupt this podcast.
Just once.
Just once. That's a record.
Well, who's our sponsor?
Our sponsor this week, because there was tons of jokes about ramen in the show, we're going back to the old man poo-pookin' ramen.
That's our sponsor? Okay.
That's our sponsor. There's no catch line here this week. That's our sponsor.
There is. It's quick and easy, unlike martial arts.
There you go.
Okay, bye.